Okay, good morning everyone. We're continuing on our road trip up in the Pilbara. You've followed us now up through Carnarvon, Onslow, Karratha, and now we're up in the heart of the Pilbara now, up in the Hamersley Ranges. We stayed up at Oski last night and we've come across to the block this morning, catch up with my big sister, May, my Dudu, and come to Paul's WONBON's resting place. So, you know, we took the name of our business from Dad, and this is where his part of the story finished up, was up here. So he was looking for a spot up here on his homeland where he could get buried. I think he rang up May and...
No, I saw him a month before he passed away. He must have been feeling himself he was ready to leave us, because he told me and my husband, we were there, he said, I want to be buried under a tree. And I jokingly said to him, I just got the tree for you, without even seeing the tree. And then a month later, my little Mogay rang me up and said he passed away. But I want to tell the story that he came up here because we settled out here 2002, and he brought his family up here. And Mogay Darren was working in town, but his little son came out, uncle's grandson, and Auntie Flicks. Then we went out to Marillana. That was a Marillana trip, early 2000. Would have been about 3 or 4, 2003. And he took us out there, as that was the place he was taken away, stolen away from. And that's about 70 kilometres from here, from Birilla. And
it was a special trip.
It was a special trip because, and he opened the gate. We let let him do everything himself. And when he's pointing out the landmarks, he said, "This is where we used to live." And even though there was no camps there, the camp where he lived with his family, but he pointed out where they lived. And that was a happy, you could see he was very happy, and I just asked the family if they could stay behind and let him go ahead. And and then we gathered under the tower tank there at Marillana Station. And Mum told the story because his older sister was there, and she was with him when he was taken away. And the grandmother and my mother was pulling him one side, and the native police, the white policemen, but they was called native police, pulling his other arm, and they're all screaming. Mogay Darren's dad, my uncle, and Mum were both screaming, and Nana, and but they ended up taking him away. And we had the 2 grandfathers there working on the station. Grandfather Black, he went off with the on a mill run with the other older children, and Mum and Uncle stayed back with Nana. And
yeah, it's funny when we hear stories of the stolen generation and people talk about it, they talk about it like it happened 200 years ago, but you know, it's clearly not the case. It's, you know, we've got these stories. I've sat down with people who were there as well and heard all these stories. Yeah, it's real. And I suppose for us, when we've got sorry days and we've got reconciliation days and all of these other days, it's probably not something that I post about every time that those days come around. And this is probably the reason why, because we've been living this our whole lives, sort of thing, you know. Our reconciliation for that day was at that day, you know. It was a really healing day, wasn't it? The photos, it was a real special time, that. But look, this is all stuff that happened in the past. So history is history. We need to tell the history, but it is past as well. So we're in today. We live in a different lifestyle today, and it's a different world that we live in, and we're living now towards the future. You know, we're looking forward to that. So yeah, we definitely want to touch on this as part of our WONBON story. It's a very important part to us as well. So we take Dad's name, then we'll honour his memory and we'll honour that story. We've taken his name for a reason. He had a good attitude regardless of all that stuff that happened to him, and he just made the most of what he had, and he done a good job of it. He set a good example for all of us. He's come and lived with us years ago. He was a good man. He gave us good morals, taught us good things, and that's what we're using today to build this business. So.
And even though, sorry, Margaret, even though it's a stolen generation, he was a role model for us.
Yep.
And but I can proudly say he had the old ways of our old people.
Yep.
He was very, very respectful. And even the last time I saw him, and it was the first time I ever put my arm around him, hugging to leave. But that was the first time I held him, and that's just a sign that he was going soon.
Yeah, it's good. So it's really good that we've got this place and we can come back and visit him. And I'll tell you what, you couldn't have a better tree to sit under. We'll show you some footage of the views around here, and I'll tell you what, you couldn't get a better place to rest up. So it's a very special place to us. Not really the type of story that I really like sharing with people, but it is history, it is our story, and it is something that we need to tell. So we're happy to be here today and share it with you. Thanks for spending the time to listen.